Oh, good day, everyone, everywhere, and special greetings to all those seated in heavenly places in Jesus. The name of this broadcast is Cross the Border, and I'm Nicholas. And today is a live Prophecy Reality Edition. Studio cam is on, so come on over to First Amendment Radio and click on the chat room button and join the conversation. There's even a little screen, YouTube screen on the right-hand column where you can see my face, although it's not really important to see me, but rather just listen if you're working or whatever you're doing. Well, today it's a covert takeover of the world by the Antichrist. It's been going on for centuries. Covert 19, I guess we could call it that. That sounds like a good operational name. The Antichrist trying to take a giant step forward. Of course, in his shadow government, he has a lot of help out there. I mean, he put out the word to the different governors and heads of states and so forth to shut down their countries, to shut down their economies. Why? Why would he do that? How does that help the Antichrist and his agenda? Well, we have an insight into his agenda because we read the Revelation. And at chapter 13, which pretty much covers the era that we're living in now. Yeah. Chapter 13 says that he's going to gain control of the entire monetary system of the world, so much so that he's going to be able to require, through his acting agents, that every man, rich and poor, free and bond, great and small, must have a mark or a number or the name of the beast in order to buy and sell in the monetary system that is based upon things that God says are an abomination, and that is usury and fiat money. That is an unjust weight and balance. And that's exactly what we have today. Now, the Antichrist and his shadow government, they're not satisfied that they already control all of the monetary systems of the world with their fiat usury money, including since 1913 and their Federal Reserve coup of the U.S. Treasury. And for anyone who doesn't know by now, that the Federal Reserve is no more federal than Federal Express or any other company that has federal in its name. Okay? But it's a private banking cabal. Of course, it's owned by the Antichrist and run through one of his city states. The financial district of London is one of the three cities of the empire of the city. And there's an article at my website. Go to crosstheborder.org. You'll see it up there. There's a link. If you go to my homepage, that is, you'll see there's a link there at the top, or it's always trending in the left-hand column because the top 10 trending articles are listed there. But the empire of the city, make sure you check it out. I call it the unholy trinity that rules the world. Okay, so what's going on here? I saw an article here over at Lou Rockwell, and I got a couple other things coming up. I want to show you the dismay of Donald Trump. We have a little thing that Donald Trump says kind of behind the scenes off to the side because he just found out something. Yeah, he just found out. He was as clueless as most of America. And you're going to see the cluelessness, the disappointment, the disbelief in the man's face and his eyes and his words when I show this video to you. You'll see that he was and is as clueless. I mean, he doesn't know who the Antichrist. He doesn't really know what's going on. He may even be a baby Christian, and you know what? I hope he is. I do hope that he has a saving faith, even though he's hanging out with the wrong people. I think, but you'll see. And in our next segment, we're going to jump into where we left off. Let me see, where was that? I've got my notes up here somewhere. Here we go. In our series that I'm doing in the second hour, we'll be discussing the false prophet and the Three Frogs era. So you'll want to stick around for that. And if you want to catch up, this is going to be the fourth segment in that series that I'm going through. You can go to my website there, and you'll see the last segment. But in each segment, as I publish it on my blog at crosstheborder.org or nicholasarthur.wordpress.com, there's a link below the video that'll take you back to the first segment and a playlist there, so you can watch them all in succession. I think it's kind of important to start at the beginning of this series I'm doing, so make sure you do that and stick around for the second hour. And you can listen now and jump into the middle, but you'll want to go back and review the whole thing. But this is, I'm reviewing my book as I'm writing it, and these chapters that I'm going through right now are pretty much complete, and I hope they will be complete as I do them, or nearly complete, because I still find typos and stuff, and some kind of sentence structure or words that need to be, or a little more clarification. And I want all the feedback I can get too while I'm doing this on the air, because this is going into the book that I'm writing that will be published probably later this year, after hopefully. I mean, I was really thinking Trump would do it, but Trump is under orders. Don't think for a minute that it would be any different even if Obama was back in the office again, or Hillary Clinton had. I mean, yeah, things would be worse in general, but still, presidents, when they find out what Trump has found out, and you'll see it anyway. Anyway, let's take a look at this article. Everyone should go to LouRockwell.com and get on their list there. Many, many good authors and good articles there. They'll help keep you in the loop. You can also listen to, if you're at work in the afternoon, and you can listen to First Amendment Radio while you're working. We play David Knight in the afternoon, so make sure you listen into his show every day. Definitely worth the listen. It runs for 3 hours. He does a lot of repetition, but hey, still, it's better than filling your mind with romantic nonsense all day long from pop music or something else. But you can listen to First Amendment Radio on your Prophecy Reality News app, or you can put a link to our Mobi page and go to the firstamendmentradio.com there, and there's a link that says mobile on it, or Mobi or something like that for mobile listeners, and then put a link, open it up in your browser on your device, whatever it is, smartphone, iPad, or whatever, and then save a link on your Surface so that you can go right to it, because we don't have Apple apps anymore. Yeah, I decided against being having to pay them every year for the privilege of having a web page. Yeah, because that's all an app is. It's just a website in a little program to fit on your smartphone. And so anyway, I didn't want to pay extortion fees to Apple for the privilege of getting on their device, which their market is diminishing every year. So I'll stick with that, which is getting more, taking over the market, and that would be the Android. Okay, anyway, this article here. The biggest fraud in history is happening right before our eyes. When I consider life, 'tis all a cheat. Yet fooled with hope, men favor the deceit. Trust on and think tomorrow will repay. Tomorrow's falser than the former day. Lies worse, and while it says, we shall be blessed with some new joys, cuts off what we possessed. And that's poetry from a former time. More and more evidence is forthcoming daily that this new coronavirus called COVID-19 is not only being blown out of proportion, but is purposely being manipulated to show many more deaths than are actually caused by this mysterious virus. In some cases, as in Italy, the so-called current epicenter of this falsely identified plandemic, the obvious deception is easy to identify, but it goes on nonetheless. This due to the perpetrators of this fraud understanding that fear sells and allows for the unimpeded ease of population control. This is partially due to a weakness of the mind, but also to the fact that the American public is no longer independent and free, but is beholding to the state as guardian of the flock. Much of the hype surrounding this ordeal has been refuted, and those responsible for making magnificent and unsubstantiated death claims early on have not only backed off, but have ratcheted down their initial warnings exponentially. This was done quietly and without fanfare, of course, unlike their mass fear-mongering, but nonetheless their claims were patently false. This is why the continued tyranny due to this hype is so ridiculous. As to the false basis for the initial fear has been exposed, but the political class and its media continuing on as if their lies were not noticed. In the meantime, millions of Americans are without a job, without savings, and without any way to support their families, all due to forcible government interference into their lives in the name of safety. The economy was shut down and is still shut down with no apparent end in sight. The salacious headlines continue and read as if Armageddon is already here. But by some legitimate estimates, the actual numbers being reported of death due to this virus could be 10 times too high. There should be no doubt at this point that this entire episode of viral panic has either been purposely staged or used to accomplish nefarious political agendas, or both. And I'm going with both. All this for a pneumonia-like sickness that is minor compared to the common flu, but a very convenient tool if control of the masses is sought. I mean, they could have done with this any flu. They could exaggerate and even they could use the real statistics for the flu and come out with a more real disaster. Much of this began due to the governments around the world, especially the US and UK, listening to one man, a supposed coronavirus expert, epidemiologist Neil Ferguson. He projected 2.2 million deaths in the US and over 500,000 in the UK if extreme actions were not taken. After the first day of the UK lockdown, he lowered those estimates by a factor of 25 down to 20,000. After this was properly scrutinized, he made a statement in an attempt to cover his own incompetence, but was not successful in my opinion. But did things change after his fraudulent model was exposed? A model used to close down entire countries? Of course not, because that would never fit the agenda sought by the ruling class. And what does the ruling class say? Never let a crisis go to waste. If we can take 10 steps forward, even if we have to take 5 back, that's fine. We're 5 steps forward to our goal of total or totalitarian control of the entire world. And that's what it's all about. And we know where it's going because the Bible has predicted it. And what a better way, to get more people under the thumb of the money powers. Because that's what it's all about. That's where it ends in chapter 13 of the Revelation with the enforced mark of the beast. Okay, now I told you there was a little video I wanted to share with you, and I have a problem is I can't get the audio. If I play a video on the video screen, I can't get it over to the audio, so people are listening to audio only. I can explain to you what's going on, but you may not hear the video unless I turn up the speaker. But I don't know about feedback and stuff like that. This is where I need a technician and a producer, but I don't have one. It's me, I'm it, and I have a lot to do already. But let me bring up this video, and I'm going to put this. What I'll do is I'll put this in the chat room. It's only 1 minute and 5 seconds long, and it's repeated a lot of times during that because it's a very short clip. Let's see. I'll copy that and I'll put it in the chat room at the same time as I play this. Let's see. Voyager says I missed the first few minutes. And what am I'm reading? I was reading from an article on LouRockwell.com, and I suggest everyone subscribe to their newsletter and get it every day. So that way you can override what you're hearing in the mainstream media and on True News and other people that have totally given in and fallen for the plandemic. Okay, you can get some measured information, some well thought out articles, and from people that are looking honestly into this so-called plandemic. Anyway, here's the going in the chat room, and later on I'll make sure that the audio is correct in the podcast there. Let me send that, and you can check that out for yourself. And let's see if I can get this thing on the screen. Oh, I already have it on the screen. Yeah, this is what happens. Okay. Yes, there we go. Plandemic. All right. I think I have this correct here, the way it should be. Let me stretch that down a little bit more and play this.
You may have listened to this video already, but I want you to listen again. This time I have a little better sound, and I want you to pay very close attention to what he says. Pompeo says this is a live exercise. And what you'll hear in the background is Donald Trump say, "You should have let us know." So again, I'm going to let it play over a couple times so you can hear it. It's very interesting. Take a listen.
This is not about retribution. This matters going forward. We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We need to make sure that even we're in a live exercise here to get this right. We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We're in a live.
Okay. You caught that, and you can have that link there in the chat room, and I'll post it under my video or on my website when I post this show segment. You can see that Donald Trump is visibly not very happy with his Secretary of State, former head of the CIA, and that would be Catholics, or I would actually, which it was, I mean, we use CIA because it's the Central Intelligence Agency. We say Catholics in action because the acronym fits, but it's really Jesuits in action. It really is. It's the shadow government. And all of these people, from the governor of California to the heads of states, or people like Donald Trump, who have no choice but to go along with the charade because he wasn't into it in the beginning, because he was looking realistically. And then he wanted to end it by April 1st and definitely by Easter. But you can see that he's disappointed because he's just found out for the first time since he became president. Maybe it's really hit him hard that he's not really in control. Because, all they have to do is, if he says, I'm going to do what I want to do, no, then they take him aside. They have a little talk about, John F. Kennedy and what happened to Ronald Reagan when he wouldn't get in line. So that's really what I see going on here behind the scenes, that he has no choice but to go along with this charade because he's just the president, the mouthpiece of the United States. He is not the ruler of the world, as it would seem. There is one ruler of the darkness of this world, and of course that's Satan and his false prophet, man of sin, Antichrist, and of course their shadow government, covered under layers and upon layers. And that's what all this is. Donald Trump, whether he knows it or not, Mike Pompeo, whether he knows it or not, these are all layers of plausible deniability for the true rulers of the world, because they learned, they learned from their 1260-year overt reign of the Roman Empire in history. They learned that it's better to control things behind the shadows, to have layers upon layer of plausible deniability, so that they never have to take the blame, but the blame can always be shifted to someone else. They don't want to be the target when things don't go right, or when things go right, because what are they after? They're after your soul, your life, your labor. It's not money. They own the money. But they want to own you. That's what they want to own. And so they'll print the money to get your labor, or to get the labor that is out there, and redistribute it at their will. They control all the labor of the world because everybody is now participating in their evil, abominational monetary system. And it's coming. And, I dedicate a chapter in my my first book to the mark of the beast. And of course, I'll have a chapter dedicated to that. But you can pretty much read what I'm going to write, because I wrote it in my quincentennial publication of the Hori Apocalypticae. Yes, it's an updated. I hope that if E.B. Elliott had lived until today, that we would have updated it the same way. But, he died over 100 years ago. So I took it upon myself to publish and revise a quincentennial edition of the Hori Apocalypticae. Because, yes, thank you for that, stupid computer. And we're going to go into a break here. So you're listening to Across the Border, a Prophecy Reality Edition. We'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. And, spread it around. Tell someone to tune in. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust, I will not be afraid. Behold, God is my strength.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold, self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Welcome back. You're listening to Cross the Border. Our broadcast today, Covert 19, March to the Mark of the Beast, because that is the end that is in sight. That is the agenda, is the one world monetary system, or the UN agenda 2030. It's all there. And another, okay, here it is. This is the article here. JorgeApocalyptique.wordpress.com. Let me put this in the chat room too. This is called Rise of the Two-Horned Earth Beast. If you read this to the end, you'll get to the 2030 agenda. This is also a chapter going to be, well, as part of my book. We've already covered this part. Let's see, there's the chat room there. Let me put this article in there. Paste. And this pretty much outlines where we're at, covering chapter 13 and the end in sight, how we're on our march to the mark of the beast, to a one world monetary system where everyone is required to participate. It will likely be digital. Seems they want to get rid of cash. How fast will they move? Well, in some parts of the world, they're moving faster than in others. In India and China, of course, wherever you have a more totalitarian government, the Antichrist has his way much easier. America is probably the most difficult place on earth. But we talk about that too in this article here that I put the link into. It's horeapocalypticae.wordpress.com. I think it's volume 3, chapter 9. Oh no, chapter 6, Rise of the Two-Horned Earth Beast. So you can find it there. And so you definitely want to check that out some other time, or after the broadcast, or later on when you have some time to check it out. Okay, what else do we got? I was hoping for some input from the chat room. Let me see. WW says the audio could hear the YouTube pretty good, so I try my best to make it as good as I can there, and I'm glad it works. So let's see. Had some more articles here. Oh yeah, I wanted to do that. Let's see. Talking about this. This picture here, that video I put in with Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo. You can see them here. I have them on the screen there. And tis right behind him. You see the vice president there, and over on the right is Mr. Fauci. Yeah, he's been working on pandemics for 40 years through different administrations. He's part of the what do you call it? What part of the government is he part of? Well, he's part of the permanent government, the part of the government that never goes away, the unelected portion of our government there. And of course, you have Pompeo. Let's see, he's worked his way up into the head of the CIA, and now he's Secretary of State. I think Mr. Pompeo has a higher devotion. Okay? Now, someone like the guy behind him over his shoulder there, the vice president, maybe compromised, maybe clueless. Who knows? I don't know the guy. I can't make any judgments about him. But do you think, you've heard about Mr. Epstein and his fantasy island where he records everything that goes on there? Well, I think we know that Donald Trump's been there. Perhaps all these guys have been there. Or compromised some other way with some information, or threatened with their families, or extended the lives of their families and extended families. The Antichrist is diabolical, and his agents, and just read your rule books for the shadow government, the Jesuit articles there, and they'll do anything, from the poison cup, the sword, to the threatened, your family, death, whatever it takes to control you, to compromise you. I mean, look at Donald Trump's face in this video. You can tell. He said, "You should have told us before," or something like, "You should have told us before." And he's saying that after Mr. Pompeo announces Mr. Shadow government, CIA, Catholics in Action, Jesuit controlled, part of the shadow government, announces that it's a live exercise. We're doing this on purpose. And that leads me to my next article here from Lou Rockwell. COVID-19 is meant to be the Black Death, but in Britain, no more people are dying than normal. Yeah, can you imagine that? No more people are dying than normal. And that's a fact. The fact is that no more people are dying than normal. There's no emergency here. This is all fake. This is all for their agenda, political agenda. So keep that in mind. And I don't know how long they're going to be able to pull this off before we have enough unrest in America. But people seem to be so up for it. I mean, even the churches have shut down. And I'm all for the pastor that decided to open up his church, because, we as Americans, we should be able to care for our own safety. And if we want to be reckless with our lives and our health to the point that we don't endanger anyone else, I don't have a problem with it. And as I said, there are no more deaths. No more people are dying than usually die. This pandemic is smaller than the normal flu. As a matter of fact, it probably showed up in prior years and was just counted as part of the flu. It's supposed to be a little harder on your lungs. If you have respiratory problems already, it could be dangerous for you, but so could the flu. I mean, I know have some friends that are older. I have a friend in his 90s. Last year or a year or so ago, he had an episode where he had to go to the hospital because he had a pneumonia. And it was life-threatening for him because he's in his, his mid to upper 90s. Yeah, it gets that way when you get old. I'm getting older. I was born in somewhere in the early 50s. Yeah, and hey, I'm getting that age, but I'm in good health. I can run circles around some of these teenagers that I know these days. Challenge my grandchildren to foot races, and they lose. I'm going, what is going on, man? Here, that shouldn't be happening. But I don't overdo it, okay? Because I am getting up there in my years. And I'm going to die, sometime in the next 40 years. Probably sooner than 40 years. I think that Jesus is actually going to return inside of 40 years. But I don't think he's returning inside of 30 years. Yeah. I think it's going to be about 2055. I've worked very hard on establishing the calendar from the creation of the world and the year, the sixth millennium is about to end. Yeah, we're about to complete 6,000 years. It's going to be about the year 2055. I don't know the day or the hour or even the month. I'm not even complaining. I'm not even saying that I know the exact year even. Say give or take a year, because I don't really care. It comes out to about 2055, if it's 2053 or 2058, because I don't know exactly. I'm not sure the calendar is right on, and you're meshing a Roman calendar with a creation calendar out of a timeline, a chronology that I found in the Bible. And that's all there for you on my website. Just look at the posting there. What year is it? I think it's trending too on my website in the top 10 articles there in the left-hand column at crosstheborder.org. So check it out. Questions, comments. There are a lot of comments, and people have helped me over about a 5-year period, I think from 2008 to 2013. Myself and my supporters and my subscribers to my blog have helped me to refine that article to get it where it is today, to where it can't really find a way to refine it any better. So that's it. We're going to go with that. Like I said, I'm not even going to say I know it's exactly 2055, but that would be in the middle of my guess, to give or take a year, okay? Like I said, it's 2055. The only way I'll live that long is if I'm very careful or very fortunate to live that long. I'm not sure how fortunate it'll be, but to live that long. But there are a few people up there that live into their early hundreds that seem to have their wits about them, and I hope to be one of those if needs be. But if it comes to what we're talking about, which, like I said, we just took 10 steps forward in bringing on the 2030 agenda, and the one world mark of the beast monetary system, I may have an opportunity to be martyred for my faith, for not participating. And for many people, because I withdrew 20 years ago, and it's been harder and more difficult since. I withdrew from a government beast monetary numbering, a mark system, because a mark is an identifying, and a beast mark of the beast, but a mark of any beast is a identification with that beast, or that belongs to that beast, or that beast gives you. So like a driver's license is a mark of a beast, say, but is it the mark of the beast spoken of by the scripture? Now that's the question. And I believe there are many precursors out there to it, the Social Security definitely being one, because that came with at the same time they were developing their world reserve currency through the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve dollar, which is not really a dollar because a dollar is a unit of measure. And it said that the dollar would be so many grains of gold or silver. Well, they threw that one out. That was U.S. dollars. Before the Federal Reserve, that was U.S. dollars. That was the money that the people owned. We don't own the money anymore. The Federal Reserve bankers and whoever owns those Federal Reserve bankers, because well, many people just say they're called the Vatican bankers. Hate to say it, but that's the truth, because we know where the Antichrist resides. The reformers outed him explicitly, vociferously, 500-600 years ago. And then there were those Christians who were being persecuted before that, who outed and identified the Antichrist, the man of sin, as being seated at the Vatican. The Antichrist, the Vice Christ, the one who takes the place of God, sitting in the church, in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And remember, before Paul wrote that, he said that, don't you know that you are the temple of God? So the Antichrist, the man of sin, takes the place of God in the temple of God, in the minds and in the hearts of the visible church on earth. So the Antichrist is not some guy who's just going to show up, certainly, but it's a line of men who has sat in the seat, in the papal chair throughout the centuries. And certainly the last one will be the final one. So at least perhaps maybe the dispensationalists and others who believe in an end-time Antichrist that's going to show up, yeah, well, it will be the end-time Antichrist, because it will be the final Pope. It will be the final man of sin sitting in the temple of God, in the hearts and minds of men, taking the place of God in those hearts and in those minds of the visible church on earth, in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Okay, let's see. Let me check out the chat room, see if we got anything going on there. See, COVID has been around for a while. That's why they all it. Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. No sense at all, WW, but that's okay. And save to read later. Yes, I hope that everyone will read that chapter, the Hori Apocalypticae chapter there. It should be engaging enough that you should be able to read it and read it to the end and not be able to stop reading it until you get to the end. Now, I know the entire Hori Apocalypticae is quite a lengthy read, but it's definitely worth it all. You should read the whole thing while you're there. Just go back to the beginning and read the whole thing. But it is appropriate to read what fits the time that we are in. There's no doubt about that. Okay, well, we got about 10 minutes to this segment. And I want to thank for the few more people showed up in the chat room today. Thank you for that. See a lot of people have been here for a while, and some new names in there, or at least one new. Voyager, haven't seen you for a while. At least I don't think so. And Nicker name, I don't know who that is. That's a new one. So anyway, it's good to see a few people in there. And for all the people that aren't in the chat room that are listening because you're actually working. Checked with most of my family and extended family in this area. Everybody's working because we're all necessary. Well, I'm not working because I'm necessary. I'm working because this is what I always do anyway. So nothing really has changed for me, except thank God I don't need toilet paper because I already bought a case from Costco about a month ago. So, and that's enough for the next year for my household, really. So really nothing has changed except I can't buy bulk beans, like 50-pound sack of beans anymore. Because I went to replace it and I found out even before this there was kind of a shortage in the bean crop. So beans are really are very expensive right now. It's crazy. Might as well just buy ground beef. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just praying that this will end sooner and not later as it dawns on more people. I mean, how long can they fake and hype up normal death rate from flu, and just because they call it a coronavirus. Plus, you've got 100%. Check out those articles on. You can go to naturalnews.com, another place you should check out and subscribe to, and LouRockwell.com. And like I said, you can listen in the afternoon to David Knight, and it runs overnight too. So all you people that get up early on the other coast, on the East Coast, I think we start playing him at 7 a.m. So we start rebroadcasting him at 7 a.m. And he's also live on another schedule at band.video. So you can check that out too. But he's the only one over there that I really like to listen to of those over there at band.video. Okay. No more questions, comments, or anything. Nobody's calling in. So let's see. What can I talk about for the next... let's see. Check my mailbox here and see what else I've got here. See, the biggest fraud in history is happening right now before our eyes. That's a Lou Rockwell article. You want to, and a lot of good. I find myself reading a lot of the articles at LouRockwell.com because they're just so good, and so many of the authors are just excellent. They do excellent work. See, A Light in the Darkness. Yes, Covert 19 is meant to be the new Black Death, but no more people are dying than normal. Yeah. Americans are in for a rude awakening by Peter Schiff. Managing a Disaster by Walter Williamson. Great people and authors over there. And who else do we have? Yeah, anyway, so definitely highly recommend LouRockwell.com, and you get on their mailing list. And yes, they send you a lot of articles. You can't read them all, but you can pick and choose the ones that pique your interest and keep you apprised as to a more realistic view of what's going on out there in the world today. And anyway, I pray that most people are essential out there and working hard. And if not, I hope that you've prepared yourself for a time such as this. Most of us, if you've been listening to First Amendment Radio for 20 years, and wherever we were before that, crossed the border for longer than that, although we did change our name somewhere along the line, early in the 2000s there. You'll have been made more preparation than most people on earth. I can't say I'm really a hardcore prepper, but certain things I have done, I've always made sure that, I buy in bulk, and before I run out, I buy in bulk to replace the bulk that I'm running out of. And that's just become a habit for me. And those are the and plus it's cheaper to buy things in bulk. Anything you can buy in bulk is cheaper over the long run. You just need patience and the self-control to be able to do the wise thing. So hopefully you've learned that, or you're learning that as the years go by, as you get older and see many things. Okay. Well, go to my website, crosstheborder.org, or nicholasarthur.wordpress.com. Make sure you subscribe there. Share the articles on your social media or email lists. Most people have hundreds of people in their email lists, and you can share something and you can add everyone on your list and share it that way, and introduce, when you find something you think this is really interesting. But I find that as much as I like prophecy and have enjoyed my 15-year dive into it here that I'm sharing with you now, what I've learned over these 15 years of my deep dive into Bible prophecy, still most people don't care or not interested or are really stuck on the shallow stuff they've learned, dispensationalism, things that aren't in the Bible, but they believe are there. They genuinely believe in their hearts that what they're looking at is the truth, even though their method of interpreting God's word is false. Yeah, it's false. It's all conjecture and speculation. That's what it is. It's conjecture and speculation. And so they believe conjecture and speculation over verified history, the facts of history, verified. They don't want to believe that. They would rather believe and say, as they're taught, our speculation is true. If you don't believe, but see, that's the Antichrist. That's the counter-Reformation eschatology or prophecy interpretation that he wants you to believe, because it deflects from him the accusation that the papacy is the seat of the Antichrist, the man of sin. So they have everyone believing a great delusion. And it's just people out there genuinely believe. You can't convince them that the coronavirus or that false prophecy is not true. They simply will not open their eyes. They simply will not. And they will be led as sheep to the slaughter, except for the elect. And if you're wondering right now, if you're doubting, I just ask you to pray to God Almighty, that Jesus' blood can cover your sins, that you could be part of the elect, that your name could be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. I would beg and I would plead for it, because I have. I have begged for it. I have pleaded to God Almighty for it. And he has given me assurance that I am there. And let me tell you, I am not worthy. It is not because of anything I've done. It is only because of what Christ has done, the work that he did. And any righteousness that I have is his righteousness, because he's imparted it and imputed it to me by the blood of his sacrifice that he made almost 2,000 years ago. So cross the border into the kingdom of God. There is absolutely nothing more important than that. It's more important than everything else that is going on, is to make sure that you belong to him and that his blood has purchased you.